Hello, I'm Senator Mike Enzi. As I travel across Wyoming and read comments that you left for me online or through my office, I know that many of you are concerned about my recent vote on a veterans benefit bill. I also heard many comments about the early learning and child care programs bill. Let's take a look and address some of those questions and comments. First, the Child Care Development Bill. Recently, the Senate voted on an early learning and child care program bill, which included my amendment to help weed out duplication, overlap, and inefficiencies across the board. Crystal from Casper said, "I'm glad to see cuts in government spending. However, I don't believe that early childhood education is the place to start. How about we, the people of the United States, have a say in where our taxes go?" Kenton from Cheyenne said, "I'm glad that you were able to cut out waste in federal government. I also understand there's a need for those services, but I think it's a local problem and something that the federal government should not be funding." Laura from Kemmerer said, "Good. That should keep them busy and keep them away from creating new rules." Nola from Pine Bluffs said, "I'd like you to vote against the reauthorization of Child Care and Development Block Grant. Child care is the responsibility of parents and family, not the federal government. Put this back in the states and communities where it belongs." Well, I understand that education should be a states' right, should be controlled by the states. And I really appreciated when I was in this coffee shop and it had an old stove in there, and I saw a dad who was explaining to probably his first and third grader how the damper and the flue on that stove worked. So I went over and I said, "Are your kids homeschooled?" And he said, "Absolutely. They're homeschooled from the time they wake up until they go to public school, and from the time they get out of public school until they go to bed." Parents are the ones that have an obligation to make sure that their kids are educated. The Child Development Block Grant is for parents or for children whose parents may not have the ability to do that or the time to do that. And there used to be 119 of the programs. Senators were able to make a case for naming one after them that would show that kids would do better and have less chance of going to jail if we did another child care education program. Most of them turned into babysitting programs. I was able to get that down to 69 while I was the chairman. And since that time, we've worked to get that down to 45, but 45 is still too many. So the amendment that I put in would reduce it still further and come up with a plan that hopefully will get it down to maybe 6 and under one department. Right now, those child care programs may have to put in grants from maybe 12 or 15 different agencies to run the program that they're running now. And each of those requires a whole bunch of paperwork, so it'll be simpler for them too. But it should save the federal government a lot of money and get this closer to being back to the states. On veterans, Connie from Cheyenne said, "We in Wyoming deserve an answer to why you voted against our veterans receiving benefits." Brad from Rock Springs posted on my Facebook that Barrasso and Enzi voted to block a bill to provide benefits for veterans. Dan from Casper asked me, "Mike, why did you vote against expanding veterans benefits as is being reported elsewhere in Facebook?" I'm just tired of seeing one side and I want to hear your reasons for it. And on Twitter, JD from Cheyenne asked, "Can you explain what was in the bill to restore veterans benefits that caused you to vote nay?" I really appreciate those questions because what we wound up with was kind of an omnibus, anything you can think of for veterans benefits, none of it being paid for. And what we were trying to do is close the gap so the retired veterans who lost 1% on their COLA could get that back. That's where it all started. And then, as works in governments, if it's worth reacting to, it's worth overreacting to. And the chairman of it, Senator Sanders, threw in everything that he could possibly think of. And just in veterans hospital cases alone, the way that he opened it up for veterans who haven't even been injured before, we would have an overload of the veteran system. And in most states, there's already a backlog of the veterans services at the hospitals. So we don't want to add to that. We want to make sure that whatever's done can be done and will be done right. And we want to make sure that a veteran's benefit that's promised is delivered. That's not the case now. It needs to be. So thanks again for the great questions and comments. If you'd like to start receiving my monthly e-newsletter, just go to my website at enzi.senate.gov and click on the sign up button on the right side of the screen. Check out my Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube pages if you would like daily updates on what I'm working for here in Washington.